G'day everybody and welcome back to another video, this time racing once again in the Karting Madness Braybrook League. This time around we have 14 karts on the grid with some of our regulars back. Still not all of them, still some injured, some still on holiday, but alas we still have a pretty sizable grid for tonight's race. I myself have done well to qualify in third, with Luke once again on pole position. He's a bit of a qualifying merchant, that lad. And Darko returning from a bit of a break. He'll be starting second on the grid. And then behind me was Curtis, and behind Curtis was our mate Brian. And so now here we are, lined up on the grid, just waiting for the marshals to get everyone sorted and start the race. We go green in Braybrook for week 2 of the winter season. We get a pretty good start to the race. We didn't lose any positions off the start, but we do scrape the wall on the way into the truck section. But that's okay, no harm, no foul. And here we go, we follow Luke and Darko through the wood section, through the hairpin. Slippery on the first couple of laps, really need to let the tyres warm up until you really have the most amount of grip. And as we go into the hairpin, the yellow flags come out. And I've been thinking about this lately. I don't think I've seen a race recently where there hasn't been a yellow flag on the very first lap. And I think if anybody is from the league and watches this, I would challenge us all to sort of have at least a clean lap. I know obviously it's quite impossible to have an entire race without yellow flags, but you know, I'd like to see at least one clean racing lap before we get into any mishaps. And so we fast forward to the end of lap 5 and the start of lap 6, and what we're finding here as the race progresses is that Luke is really struggling with his kart. You can see there just on exit of the truck section, his rear tyres just don't have the same amount of grip that the rest of us do, and he's having a really hard time keeping us behind. You can see that he's all over the place on the exit of the wood section, and as we go through the hairpin he's struggling even more. And as we come out of the hairpin, Darko has to check up, and so I get a little bit of a run on him out of the hairpin. I give him a little bit of a bump just to say, hey, I'm still here, I'm still behind you. But as we can see, Luke having these issues, the stakes in this race are ever increased. We know now, okay, we've got to get past Darko if we ever have a chance at winning this race, because we know if Darko gets past Luke, Darko's going to run away with it. We're going to be stuck behind Luke for at least another lap or two, and Darko is going to stretch his lead. And so here we go, into the wood section. Luke makes a critical mistake and hits the inside tyre barrier. And then Darko gets up on his outside on approach to the hairpin. They go side by side, and I somewhat see this as an opportunity to get past Darko, and I give it a little bit of a go, but I'm not quite committed enough. And I get myself squeezed into the tyre barrier. But here they go, side by side through the double left, giving me a chance to catch back up again. Luke defends and hangs on to the lead, only just though, and so the race continues on lap 8. We fast forward to lap 9, coming out of the truck section and in through the wood hairpin. Darko still hounding Luke and me not far behind, and whilst this is all happening we've got Brian and Curtis right behind. Darko thinks about the dive on the entry into the hairpin. Luke sees it and gives him a little bit of racing room, even though he didn't really need to. And Darko gets a little bit of a better run, but he can't quite hold on. Luke hangs on for another lap of racing. And here we go, fast forward to the start of lap 18, and we're still trailing Darko. We're still chasing down Luke in the lead of the race. You can still see he's struggling with the grip in his rear tyres. It's just not going well for him, and we're hounding him. I'm waiting to see if Darko's going to make a move, and I can pick up the pieces. Coming out of the wood section, Luke gets a poor exit. Darko has half a look. He tries it again through the hairpin, thinks about a dive. Luke sees it, but they both get a bit of a poor exit, and I get a run on Darko, but he doesn't see me. He squeezes me into the wall. I'm sure he didn't actually know I was there. I'm sure that's purely accidental. So that's all good. But you can really see now the heat in this race is really accelerating. And now, fast forwarding to the start of lap 28, and Luke is still struggling with his rear tyres, but he's doing so well to keep Darko and I and the rest of us behind him and hold on to that lead ever so desperately. He's got such a disadvantage and he's holding on so well, defending his position so well, but he makes a mistake again, coming out of the wood section. Darko this time gets alongside him on entry into the hairpin, just ahead of him. They go side by side on exit, but Darko's got the better run on the outside line, and there it is. Darko in the lead of the race. Luke finally, after 28 laps, fails in his defense of the lead. And now the mission changes for us. Instead of getting past Darko when he's trying to overtake Luke, now we've got to get past Luke. We have to do it in the next few laps, otherwise Darko's just going to run away with this lead. There's no way of us knowing if we could be faster than Darko if we don't get past Luke. Luke is struggling with his tyres. He's having a really bad day for pace, and so we've got to find a way past him. We know that in his kart right now. He's just making little mistakes here and there, and we've just got to be there, nice and close, ready to take advantage. So here we go, through the double left, getting closer and closer to Luke. As you can see, he just doesn't have the same amount of confidence in his kart. Through the S's, we're just getting closer and closer. I give him a little bit of a baby bump on the way into the truck section, just showing us the pace advantage of the two karts. And when you've got a bad kart and when you've got a good kart, as unfortunate as it is, I know it's just luck based, but when you've got a bad kart, you've just got to hang on for dear life and defend as much as you can. And you know what, Luke has actually done a brilliant job at that, I will say, throughout this race. Whilst yes, he's lost the lead to Darko, he hasn't relinquished any other position so far, and he's doing a really good job to hold on to second position. And again, we fast forward this time to the end of lap 32 as we go through the double left-hander at the end of the lap. And you can see Luke struggling once again. He gets loose through the S's, and I give him a bump over the start-finish line. He's really having a hard time of it now, and I'm sure he's feeling the pressure. Again, I give him another bump by accident through the truck section. His rear tyres are just giving up more and more as the race goes on. And you can just see he just doesn't have the same grip as everybody else. And this helps me get a bit of a run on him coming out of the wood section. On approach to the hairpin, I take a dive, but I just brake way too early and I'm not committed enough. And Luke doesn't see me. He turns into the apex and I clip his rear bumper. I would say that's actually poor racecraft from me. I just wasn't committed to the overtake. If I'm going to go for it, I need to make sure the guy ahead of me sees what I'm doing, otherwise he's just going to turn in. And if that means I outbrake myself into the corner, then, you know, that's bad luck on me. But that's okay, we race on. And so we fast forward a few more laps, this time to the end of lap 35, and as we get away around some back markers. But there's only a few laps left in this race. Now on to the start of lap 36, and we know there's not a lot of time left to get around Luke. And so we've really got to pile on the pressure. Make sure that he knows we're still behind him. Put that pressure on him. And so here we go through the wood section where he's been constantly making that slight mistake. And so we get a bit of a run on him once again out of the wood section on approach to the hairpin. But we take it easy this time. We don't want to make that mistake. But a little bit too easy, some would say, because Curtis takes a look up the inside. But we're still getting a run on Luke on the way to the double left. We're almost side by side. He gives me racing room, even though I don't think he needs to. And he just holds on to that second place once again. Now on to lap 37. There's not a lot of time left in this race. It's really hard to find our way past Luke. He's holding on so well, defending that second place so brilliantly. And here we go, on approach to the wood section. We get a bump from behind. It's Brian. He gets up our inside, coming out of the wood section, and we scrape the outside tyre barrier, going side by side through the hairpin, defending the inside line, and we just hold on to third place. Now we've lost some ground to Luke. We've got to catch that up. We scrape another tyre barrier, going through the double left. We're getting past some back markers, and on to lap 38. Now on approach to the truck hairpin, we've caught back up to Luke. You can just see the difference there. Even though we make a little bit of a mistake going through the truck section again, hitting a tyre barrier, we make up so much ground. But this all pales in comparison to what is about to happen next. On lap 38 of the race, there's only a few laps left to go. We're about to be involved in one of the scariest incidents I've been a part of since racing in this league. And so as we go through the double left, Ari finds herself sideways, colliding with the wall in the middle of the corner. Luke goes into the side of her, spins her around, and I, with Luke blocking my vision ahead of me, react way too late. I stamp on the brakes and go sliding sideways into the back of Ari. We're very lucky to see Brian and Curtis not colliding with us, but that is still a very scary moment. As we make our way out of the corner, I'm realizing who it is. It's our friend Ari, and she stopped herself on the side of the track, not looking in a great state. And even though we've just been in a very heated race for second and third position, all I can think now, you know, is Ari okay? Is everyone else okay? Because that seemed like a very big hit. She was hit 3 times in the space of, I'm going to say, less than half a second. And when you see a friend go through something like that, all you can do is worry about them and want to know, hey, are they okay? Luckily, she was okay, as we found out after the race. She just got a little bit of a shock. And she continues to race on to this day. This race was actually a few weeks ago, and she's actually still improving as a young racer, and she's all making us very proud. So well done, Ari, for being so brave. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of our race. Here we are on the end of lap 40. We've got Curtis and Brian still fighting for position ahead of us. They're going side by side, and actually they finish so close to each other. They go side by side over the start-finish line, and Brian just gets away with that third position. Curtis in fourth, and yeah, myself in fifth. Luckily, we all were able to go home safely after that race. Fist bumps around from everyone. Nevertheless, it was still a fun night racing. That was probably one of the most intense races I've been a part of for all manner of reasons. And so again, the Karting Madness Wednesday League brings us another awesome race to remember. And so we finish up with a grid of 14 drivers for this Wednesday League night at Karting Madness. The race win is taken by our mate Darko with a fastest lap of 34.992. Luke, struggling with his kart, only finishes with a 35.172. I'm sure he's a little annoyed with that result. Brian finishes in third place, just ahead of Curtis, as you saw, getting into the 34s with a 34.996. Curtis right behind him with a 35.119. Myself with a fastest lap of 35.020. Then JJ12 in 6th place, Daddy Dino in 7th, Gino in 8th, Fat Tony in 9th, Jay in 10th, MP7FX in 11th, Ari finishes in 12th with a 36.465, Marcus in 13th, and Damo rounding out the field in 14th place with a 37.050. Again, another awesome night of racing in Braybrook. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all in the next video.